The hidden dangers of quantitative easing. Quantitative easing, or QE, is often described as a lifeline for economies in crisis. Central banks pump money into the system, markets recover, and politicians take victory laps claiming they're behind it all. But beneath the surface, QE comes with some serious risks. Risks that can reshape the financial system, inflate bubbles, and even create future crises. Today, I'm going to be breaking down the biggest dangers of QE that you need to understand and also can protect yourself from. The most obvious danger of QE is inflation. By creating money and buying assets, central banks increase the supply of money in circulation. If too much money chases too few goods, prices rise, and they rise fast. We've seen in recent years massive QE during the pandemic, and that's what I believe helped fuel inflation spikes in the US, the UK, Europe, and beyond. There's also currency risk. QE can weaken a country's currency against others, making imports more expensive and fueling even more inflation. For everyday people, that means higher costs at the supermarket, at the pump, i.e. gas, and when travelling abroad. Because at the end of the day, we live in such an interlinked global economy that I don't think there's many countries that consume everything they produce. You know, a lot of the things we need to bring in from other countries, and a lot of the things we create are sold to other countries. So there's also, moving on, asset bubbles and inequality. Now, this is one of the biggest issues, in my humble opinion. A serious danger is the creation of asset bubbles. When central banks flood the system with money, interest rates fall, suddenly investors rush into stocks, real estate, and bonds, driving prices way up. And I know this sounds good if you own assets, however, it creates bubbles that can pop just like the housing crash of 2008. It also widens inequality. Wealthy investors benefit from rising stock and property prices. Not just wealthy, that's not fair in fact. Just even if you're in the markets, you will be a benefactor of that. Whilst ordinary savers earn next to nothing on deposits. That might be the older generation that like to keep their money in the bank. Over time, this fuels frustration, political division, and social tension. Now, I think we're seeing a lot of that at the moment, not just in the US, but in the UK, Europe, pretty much all over the globe. But perhaps, and this is a controversial one, the most dangerous risk is addiction. And you're probably thinking addiction? Because once markets get used to QE, it's hard to take it away. Investors start assuming that whenever there's trouble, the central bank will step in with more money, printing, that's called the Fed put, and it encourages risky behaviour. Governments also get hooked. With central banks buying bonds, it's easier for governments to borrow and spend without facing the true cost of debt. That may work short term, but long term, it undermines fiscal discipline and could lead to debt crises. As my grandmother always said, the chickens always come home to roost. So if you found this interesting, I'd like to know what your opinion is. Do you think that quantitative easing can stabilise markets and it's a good tool? Do you think the dangers are real? Let me know. Drop a comment in the comments section. You can drop us an email at info@expatmoneychat. Hit the follow, hit the subscribe. Appreciate you watching. Much appreciated. Thank you.